Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Startup Central right here on ET Now with me, Sumita Kareer. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll be taking a look at the top stories that we're tracking from the world of startups, technology, and entrepreneurship. And in fact, before we begin the show and go on to our top story, let's take a quick look at the headlines we're tracking. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll continue with the show in just a little while from now, but we have some big breaking news that's just coming in. Well, it's concerning Adani versus the Hindenburg Group, and it's a big win, it seems, for the Adani Group. In fact, SEBI has given a clean sheet to Adani Group. SEBI has said that no violation related to any party transaction rule really occurred, and it did not happen. So a big win, essentially, it seems, from this order that SEBI has passed. It is the SEBI's final order that clears the Adani Group of some allegations that were made by the Hindenburg Group. In fact, SEBI states that there's been no violation of party-related transaction rule. In fact, we have many more flashes which are coming up as far as this final order related to the Adani Group versus the Hindenburg Group, as far as that case is concerned. In fact, joining us now is my colleague Ankur Mishra. Ankur, put those final order lines into perspective for our viewers. Does this essentially mean that the case is closed and this is the final order by SEBI as far as the Hindenburg case on Adani Group is concerned?
Yes, definitely. So the final order has come from market regulator SEBI regarding Hindenburg matter. Let's understand step by step. There were two main allegations against Adani Group, and this order clearly says that those two issues does not remain. What were those issues? Whether the loan transactions between Adani Port and Adani Power or Adani Enterprises, which were notices 1, 2 and 3, were routed through Milestone and Rewar. So those could not be established by SEBI, and the allegation was that between FY19 to FY23, they should be classified as related party transactions under LODR regulation. Now, what was the second charge, which was bone of the contention, which was the allegation which was leveled in the Hindenburg report, and SEBI did investigate the matter, whether there was scheme of article to conceal related party transactions that would otherwise fall under LODR regulations of SEBI. Now, SEBI has held that these allegations are also not established, meaning it did not find any kind of violation on the two core issues. Therefore, no liability devolved on the notices and the proceedings were disposed of. This does not give complete clean sheet to Adani Group, but the two main issues, the two main points whereby there were allegations against Adani Group, now that has been settled. It is the final order of SEBI, and SEBI says no violations made on those two fronts.
Right, Ankur. Now, you just stated that SEBI has said in this order that there is no complete clean sheet that's been given to the Adani Group on this particular matter. What does this essentially mean? Will there be any further investigation in this matter, or will investigations come to a close?
This is clearly mentioned. It is a final order by market regulator SEBI. The two main issues, the two core issues whereby allegations were there, they does not stand. But yes, there are minor leveling of allegations as far as this order also is concerned. This says that Adani Ports, Adani Power, Adani Enterprises were named in the final order, and they examined the loan transactions between FY19 and 23. So two allegations does not stand, but there share transactions were in substance and not disclosed as required. That has been mentioned in the order. Although, as you're saying, does it also mean will there be any further investigation? No. Once a final order of SEBI comes, it stands in entirety, and it is only after the preliminary investigations which has already been completed till now, and therefore now market regulator has largely given a kind of clean chit to Adani Group.
Right, Ankur, just one final question before we let you go. Given the fact that this is an important development, one that's been in the public eye, and there's been a lot of back and forth as far as this particular case is concerned. It has impacted markets to quite some extent as well. But how did SEBI's investigation process unfolds, and what key findings really led to this conclusion of no violation?
Yes, SEBI follows step-by-step process as far as these kind of allegations are concerned. Of course, first is preliminary probe, which was launched by SEBI, and after that only the final order has come, and that is after a proper hearing option which has been given to the notices. So after going through the complete matter, after going through the documents as required, the processes as required, SEBI has now come into conclusion. This means market regulator has followed the due process which is needed in any kind of allegations. Once these are leveled against any corporate, any entity whereby the market participants are there, and hence SEBI is making a point clear that on those two main points where allegations were there against Adani Group, it does not stand. In fact, SEBI has given a clean chit on two core issues to Adani Group.
Absolutely, Ankur. Thank you very much for putting this breaking news into perspective for our viewers. So big win, ladies and gentlemen, for the Adani Group versus the Hindenburg case. In fact, SEBI has given a clean chit to the Adani Group, as my colleague Ankur was mentioning, in at least two main concerns. In fact, the SEBI says that there has been no violation of related party transactions rule, and the final order essentially clears the Adani Group of some allegations that have been made by the Hindenburg Group. In fact, as my colleague Ankur was mentioning, this essentially disposes of instant proceedings in the Adani-Hindenburg case, and that the fact that there has been no violation of two main issues pertaining to this particular case. So that's the big breaking update that we have for you at the moment in the Adani Group versus the Hindenburg case. But for the moment, in fact, let's shift our focus back to the show. In fact, putting our focus on Finbox for now, which has announced that it has raised $40 million in a Series B fundraise that was led by incoming investor Westbridge Capital, with participation from existing investors that include A91 Partners and Aditya Birla Ventures. The fresh capital will be used to accelerate investments in technology, fuel international expansion. But how will the company ensure differentiation in a very crowded and competitive marketplace? Well, to discuss more on that, we're now joined by Anand Deshpande, who's the founder of Finbox. Thank you very much, Mr. Pandey, for joining us here on ET Now. First things first, how will the proceeds will be used, and where will these fresh funds be deployed as far as your company is concerned?
Sumita, thank you so much for having me on your show. We've raised 40 million, as you know, and we'll be using these funds mainly in three areas. One is, of course, more R&D and innovating on our existing suite of products. Secondly, expanding our team further to basically build out further distribution. And this distribution is, of course, across India and international markets, namely Southeast Asia and then on to Middle East. And lastly, we'll also be looking at interesting like-minded companies that offer complementary products and services. And so therefore, we might look out for inorganic growth as a means to add more revenue to our company.
Right, Mr. Deshpande. And, before we delve a bit deeper into the fundraise and, of course, how you plan to deploy this funding in your company, help us understand a bit more about your company and, of course, your overall business model, and how do you plan to differentiate yourself from other competitors that are existing in this particular segment?
Right. So we are a B2B fintech SaaS, Sumita. We, as founders and as a team, we are experts in mobile technology, risk management, and lending as a business. So we've created two lines of business. One is credit intelligence. So it is all about data and algorithms to convert that data into real-time decision-making parameters. We have expertise in building alternative credit scoring that we supply to our lender partners and LSPs, which are loan service providers. And then we have an end-to-end loan origination software that banks as well as LSPs use to launch credit products. A quick example would be, let's say a super app has millions of users on its platform and wants to now service these users with loans that are relevant, can be personal loans, business loans. So we come in, we implement our software, and within 3 to 6 weeks, the super app can now start originating loans in a very compliant way. We have integrations at the back end with tens of licensed lenders, which is banks and NBFCs, who will be offering loans to these users on the super app in real time and in a hassle-free manner. So this is exactly what we do. And we built Finbox as a way and means to create tools to deepen financial inclusion. And we're glad to report that till date we've onboarded more than 2 crore new to credit borrowers, giving them loans. And for lending companies, we provide additional segments of users who they can give loans to in a profitable way.
Right, Mr. Deshpande, but are there any new products or features in the pipeline that will be powered by this funding?
Yes, of course. I think we'll definitely use a sizable portion of the fundraise towards continuing to leverage AI and ML to build on to our fraud detection, credit scoring, and loan onboarding features. We've recently launched our AI-powered rule engine as well. So a rule engine pretty much just takes into consideration a bunch of rules that lenders want to apply before approving a borrower. Now lenders can just type in what the kind of policies they'd like to implement, or just say it out aloud, and our rule engine is able to convert it into a proper codified policy and makes it ready for a single click deployment and ready to use. So these are just some of the examples of our technological enhancements that we wish to do. Of course, we've been engaged in helping lenders to originate unsecured loans or loans without any collateral so far. But as an extension, we'll be extending our platform to include loans against securities, loans against property, mortgages, etc. And with, I think, the regulators' focus on balancing unsecured lending with secured, I think our platform is going to be a game changer for lenders to go to market with these new products within no time.
Right, Mr. Deshpande, but how do you plan to maintain a competitive edge in such a fast-evolving fintech ecosystem? And how do you plan to deal with growing competition, especially from neobanks and alternative lenders?
I think we feel that we really do welcome competition. I feel India itself is a large market, and we need more and more competition for the best products and services to emerge. The way we differentiate ourselves is that in the market, typically in B2B SaaS, there are two types of players. One is the type which has a lot of data and probably builds on intelligence on top of that data. The other type of businesses that we see are pure play software businesses that create more like a CRM for lending or loan origination systems, loan management systems. I think how we differentiate is we bring both to the table simultaneously and both work with each other in a very complementary way. So, as I gave an example earlier, so today's, vegetable vendors to merchants are present on a super app that wants to enable loans for its users. Our software stack enables these merchants, these vendors, vegetable vendors, or even gig economy workers to apply for loans on these platforms. But our credit intelligence suite or the data intelligence and credit scoring models actually enrich the information and create a layer of trust between these borrowers and the lenders, so that the lenders can approve about 30% more of these borrowers and still make about 15 to 20% extra profit by reducing the cost of delinquency risk and fraud risk. So I think I'd say there isn't any player in the market who brings both sides to the table, and Finbox does that extremely well. And with this round of funding, we're well positioned to capture what is a really large market, evolving market in India and beyond.
So when you say that India is a large market and of course beyond as well, you're looking at, which essentially hints at some sort of an international expansion that the company might be planning for. What exactly are you looking when it comes to international expansion? Are you going to be looking at countries in India's immediate neighborhood?
Yeah, as I said earlier, so we came into being because we wanted to deepen financial inclusion. So any country which is an emerging economy and where credit is underserved or underpenetrated, I think those are and those economies are looking at fast digitization are the markets for us to enter into first. Of course, Southeast Asian countries are an obvious choice for us in that sense. We've already started work in some of the countries, namely Vietnam, Philippines, and Indonesia. As a next step, we are looking westwards towards the Middle Eastern markets, which have become an exciting destination for providing digitization in the lending ecosystem. And so these are the two geographies apart from India that we'll be targeting as we go along.
Right. So essentially, you're looking at the Middle East markets as well. But Mr. Deshpande, if I were to ask you, what's the revenue potential that you see for the India market versus the other markets that you're looking at expanding into and where you're present at the moment?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's a great question because, hitherto, people used to believe and think that, India market from a SaaS point of view, especially fintech SaaS, isn't a huge enough market. Maybe the opportunity size isn't much. But I think, a couple of startups before us, like Perfios and all have showed that India is definitely $100+ million USD ARR kind of a market. So for us also, the opportunity that we look at is to build out a $150 million US dollar ARR business in India, and about equivalent market split across both Southeast Asia and Middle East. So, the difference between India and Southeast Asia and Middle East is that, from a volume point of view, while the, international markets may be about a fifth of the size or lesser than as compared to India, but from a paying capacity point of view, they make up for that loss in volumes, and therefore they make up an equally attractive market for.
Right. Right, Mr. Deshpande. In fact, we'll be looking forward to all of those developments that will be coming from the company. You essentially are looking at accelerating developments in technology and fueling your international expansion with this fundraise. On that note, thank you very much for taking the time out and speaking to us here on ET Now on Startup Central.
Thanks very much, Sumita.
All right, so breaking news on your screen once again that Adani Group has been cleared with major violations, two of the major violations or allegations which were leveled by the Hindenburg. And after that, the important point in the final order of SEBI is that there is no violation of LODR regulations. Transactions were unrelated parties, did not qualify as related party transactions or termed as RPTs before 2021 amendments, because the law came later. So therefore, no violation on LODR regulations. Also, no violation of Section 12A or PFUTP regulations, and no fraud, misrepresentation or siphoning of funds was proven as per the final order which has been released by SEBI. To discuss this order in detail, we have a stellar panel. I have with me Sandeep Parekh as well as HP Ranina. HP Ranina has actually joined us. So Mr. Ranina, I want to come to you for a legal interpretation now. Since the final order has been passed by SEBI, everybody is asking whether or not now this case is closed.
Well, certainly it is closed, because I don't think anybody can now any grievance at all, because SEBI is a final authority. Now nobody can appeal against that. Surely Adanis are not in any way involved. They have been given a clean chit. And since they've been given a clean chit, the matter ends there. And this is a question of fact. You see, you can only challenge something in a court if there is a legal issue involved. But where no legal issue is involved, it's a question of fact that nothing has been proved, that there is nothing wrong which Adanis have done. Then the matter comes to an end. The SEBI is a final fact-finding authority. And the conclusion of the final fact-finding authority can never be challenged in a court of law, because no issue of law is involved.
I also want to understand now, as part of the process, will SEBI once again go to court? Because at one point of time, there was court-monitored process which was going on, whereby the regulator was asked to probe these matters. So how does this work out as a process now, since SEBI has passed final order? Again, I would want to understand from legal point of view, it does not go to court anymore?
No, the SEBI's order will be filed in the court. Since it was a court-monitored investigation, SEBI will give its report to the court, and the court will therefore feel that now nothing remains. Nothing remains to consider, because if actually what has been alleged has been proved to be wrong by SEBI, and SEBI being the final fact-finding authority, it will only give its report to the court, and the court will now close the matter, because nothing remains to be argued. There's no legal issue involved. Factually, the Adanis have been given a clean chit, that they have not done anything which is improper, illegal, or violative of any rules, regulations, or any other issue. Therefore, the matter will be filed before the court, and the court will now should close the issue. The whole case will now be closed by the court, based on SEBI findings.
All right, so Supreme Court will take the final call on that, and just for the benefit of viewers, I'll once again draw your attention to two main issues whereby this order has focused. Whether the loan transactions between Adani Ports, Adani Power were routed through Milestone and River from FY19 to FY23. This was one of the allegations, and whether it should be classified as related party transactions. Now, SEBI has given complete clean chit on that front, and they have not found any violation of LODR in this matter. And the second main issue was whether there was scheme or artifice to conceal related party transactions that would otherwise fall under LODR regulations. There also, SEBI is clearly mentioning that allegations were not established. So therefore, Mr. Ranina, as far as now the company is concerned, they would have been given proper hearing. In fact, a chance would have been given to Hindenburg as well to submit their appeal. As far as process for these companies and Hindenburg is concerned, there is nothing much apart from the allegations which may continue, but legally nothing remains.
No, you are right. There is no question of even allegation continuing, because this is a matter of fact. They have found out that there is nothing wrong which Adanis have done, that there are no related party transactions. These are all questions of fact. Now, once this factual position has been established by SEBI, nothing remains. All that SEBI will have to do is to file its findings to the court. And based on those findings, the court will dismiss the petition which was filed earlier against the Adani Group. So nothing remains now. And as I said, nothing can be argued because it's a question of fact. The Supreme Court will never go into issues of facts. They only go issue on interpretation of a law, never on issues of facts. Therefore, once the factual position has been established by SEBI, which is the final fact-finding authority, nothing remains. Therefore, this case will have to be disposed of by the Supreme Court based on the findings that Adanis have done no wrong, that they have not violated any legal provision. And therefore, nothing remains, can be sustained in this particular petition.
All right, Mr. Ranina, point taken. Please stay with us. We also have Mr. Sriram Subramanian from InGovern. Mr. Subramanian, I want to understand from you what impact will have after the final order, which has been now released by SEBI. Have all questions been answered now? And more importantly, what happens to the other kind of allegations which were leveled against the group, and more importantly, other companies in the ecosystem?
Good evening. I think that puts to rest specifically with respect to the Hindenburg allegations, because that is the remit of the SEBI order. The last of the Hindenburg allegations with respect to the Adani Group on the related party. If there are other cases going on with respect to the Adani Group, that is a different matter altogether. Firstly, whether it is in the purview of SEBI, etc. For example, there is the SEC, some investigation happening, etc. So that is a different jurisdiction, different regulator. At least as far as these Hindenburg allegations go, SEBI's order is sort of puts the final nail in the coffin. Since the past 2.5 years, it has been pending anyway, and the chairman of SEBI also has changed. So to that extent, it's I would think a positive for the Adani Group.
It is definitely positive for Adani Group, but more importantly, Mr. Subramanian, how should we see this case as a whole, as a learning? Meaning there were many allegations, the market fell, the brunt was borne by not only one company but the whole market. So overall, what learning one should have, and overall for even for government, do you think this case becomes a kind of precedence on unsubstantiated or unleveled kind of allegations which actually does not merit any kind of facts which are there, as Mr. Ranina was also mentioning that whenever SEBI comes with order, these are facts which have been placed in public. So all these answers have been given, and what are the learnings according to you?
I think the biggest learning is, see, there will be short sellers, there will be people who will be coming out with reports, there will be, so it has to be taken in the merit of those allegations. So unnecessarily in January 2023, we also put out a report saying that it has unnecessarily been politicized, it has unnecessarily been taken to the Parliament, the Supreme Court, PIL, etc., where there is a regulator of the stature of SEBI, which is empowered to investigate on its own, to look into the allegations and arrive at conclusive action. Why should other stakeholders in the market take it all the way up, politicize it, take it to Supreme Court, etc.? So there is a regulator. This is a capital markets issue. If there is merit in the allegations, the short seller, there is nothing wrong with short selling. And that has been seen again now with the Vedanta case. So there is nothing wrong with short selling. A short seller has a position, and the learning is there will be various facets or various hues of investors across the world, and India is an open capital market. It has a regulatory system in place for capital markets regulation, and it has to be within the remit of that one needs to view these allegations and give the regulator enough, I would think, weight or enough credence. The regulator SEBI has acted in this matter also, though it has taken some more time than it possibly could have done with. I think the conclusions are fairly positive for the capital markets as a whole.
Right, point well taken. Mr. Ranina, I want to understand from you, this case will act as a precedence for any such instance in the future? Mr. Ranina, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. You are audible. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are very much audible. So I wanted to understand, will this case be a precedence now?
No, this won't be a precedent because every case depends on the facts of each case. So here the SEBI has found that the allegations are baseless, without any documents and without any substance. And therefore, they have taken the view that these allegations have to be now put to a close. But in other cases, the facts may be different. So precedents can only be if the facts are similar. If the facts are not similar, it's not a precedent because every case depends on its own facts.
Right. As far as the shareholders' activism is concerned, while as a regulator that is always welcome that even the minority shareholders gets right, they raise questions, but with malified intentions or somebody who is knocking the door just for the markets, keeping in mind, or somebody is a short seller. How do you see, Mr. Subramanian, in this particular case whereby Hindenburg, and as it has been alleged by Adani Group also several times, what is your take in this matter?
See, globally, short sellers are a market participant. So India, in this case also Hindenburg, because it's a high-profile company, high-profile group, so that's the reason there was probably more credence given to it, and the markets cross the. But we have to see the merit of the case, Hindenburg. There will be short sellers. We should be welcoming of short sellers because short sellers would be correct also in some cases, could be wrong also in other cases. We don't know. We as other observers or other market participants have to view the merit on the allegations on its own merit. Even the regulator has to do that. And as Mr. Ranina said, in this specific case, the allegations turned out to be wrong. But in some other case, maybe the short seller could be correct. So, and the short seller has an established position that they make it upfront that they will have a position in that stock and they will benefit from the stock price falling. So to that extent, I think they are being transparent. So we should be welcoming of short sellers. We cannot be banning short sellers. In fact, if anything, more short selling is required. But one should just view it from the perspective that they are another market participant and leave it at that.
Definitely a point well taken. They are the market participants, and for now, the fact says that SEBI has cleared two major allegations which were leveled against Adani Group, and for now, a kind of a clean sheet comes in favor of Adani Group. But gentlemen, thank you so much for joining it this hour with your views and explaining to our viewer the rationale of SEBI order.